I used to believe that betrayal had a sound, a scream, a crash, something dramatic enough to warn you it was coming. Turns out, it's quieter than that. Sometimes it sounds like ice clinking in a glass while the person you trust most in the world decides you're disposable. That night, I was standing in my kitchen barefoot stirring soup, thinking about nothing more serious than whether I'd overcooked the vegetables when I heard unfamiliar voices in the living room. And in that moment, without knowing it yet, my old life was already over. When I stepped out of the kitchen wiping my hands on a towel, I saw 3 men I didn't recognize. Big solid, the kind of guys who don't look around because they already know they belong wherever they are. My husband, Victor, was sitting in his leather chair by the window. Drink in hand, legs crossed calm, as if this were a casual meeting he'd scheduled between emails. I opened my mouth to ask what was going on, and that was as far as I got. One of them moved fast, faster than my brain could catch up, and his fist connected with my face. Everything went white, then loud. I hit the bookshelf behind me, books and framed photos exploding onto the floor like my life being shaken loose. I remember screaming Victor's name, not because I thought he'd fight them, but because I thought he'd stop them. Say something. Stand up. Do what husbands are supposed to do. He didn't. He looked at me for a split second, eyes flat, then went back to his drink. And somehow that hurt more than the punch. They knew exactly how to hurt me. One grabbed my throat and lifted me until my feet left the floor, my lungs screaming, while the others took turns hitting places that wouldn't leave obvious marks. I tried to scream again, but nothing came out but these awful wet sounds I didn't recognize as my own. I could see Victor over their shoulders scrolling on his phone, completely detached like he was waiting for a rideshare. At one point, I actually begged for him to stop it. He sighed like I was being inconvenient. When he finally said, "That's enough," they stopped instantly. That's when I understood this wasn't chaos. This was planned. They grabbed me by the ankles and dragged me across the floor, my arms useless, my head bumping softly against wood I'd polished just that morning. As they pulled me past Victor's chair, I reached for him one last time. He shifted his legs so my bloody hand wouldn't touch his pants. That tiny movement burned itself into my memory. It told me everything. They kicked me down the front steps. I remember the night air hitting my face, the stone rushing up my body, tumbling each impact, stealing more breath. I landed on the driveway staring up at the sky, gasping like a fish on land. I heard the men walk back inside. Then I heard my life being erased. Drawers slammed, closets emptied, furniture scraping. My belongings started raining down around me, suitcases bursting open, clothes scattered across stone. Shoes landed near my head. Through the front windows I saw Victor stretch, turn off lights, move like his evening was going exactly as planned. The car drove away. I was alone. My phone was still in my pocket. It took everything I had to get it out. The screen was cracked, my fingers shaking, but it worked. I called one number Victor had seen 100 times and never asked about. When the voice answered, I whispered, "I need help." That was it. 3 words, enough to start the end of him. While I waited, lying there bleeding under the stars, my mind kept drifting back to the beginning because that's what shock does. It rewinds you. Years earlier, I was standing on a rain-soaked street corner with a broken umbrella, feeling invisible. Victor appeared out of nowhere, offered shelter. Coffee. A smile that felt like luck. He wore confidence like a tailored suit. I didn't belong in his world, and somehow that made him want me more. Our early dates were restaurants I had to Google beforehand, menus that made my chest tighten. He told me I was smart, different, special. When he proposed, it felt unreal, like I'd wandered into someone else's movie. The house we moved into should have scared me. All glass and marble, too perfect to touch. 3 months into marriage, Victor told me I should quit my job. He said my ambition made him uncomfortable, that a wife should focus on the home. He said it calmly, like explaining the weather. It wasn't a conversation. It was a command. I argued. I lost. I resigned a week later, signing away a career I'd spent years building. Staying home felt like disappearing. Days stretched too long, too quiet. So I started building something quietly, secretly. Online stores. One, then another. I worked from a room Victor never used earbuds and white noise playing. I made my first $1,000 on a random afternoon while he thought I was watching daytime TV. By the end of the first year, I was earning more than I ever had before. By the second, I was scaling investing, layering assets through companies no one could trace back to me. By the time Victor started coming home later colder, I had already crossed numbers most people don't even dream about. He still thought I was nothing. When I found out about his affair, he didn't apologize. He laughed. He told me I was boring, useless, replaceable. He told me I had nowhere to go, no money, no power. I looked at him and said I understand. And I meant it. He just didn't realize what I understood. Back on the driveway, headlights appeared sooner than I expected. Help arrived. Police arrived. One of the men had dropped a phone. It recorded everything. Victor sitting calmly while I was beaten. That video did what my words never could. In the days that followed, things moved fast. Victor lost his job. The woman he cheated with disappeared. A private investigator confirmed the loan he'd taken to impress her. Then my lawyer called. Victor had listed the house. Desperate. I made an offer. Cash, anonymous, closed in 2 days. 7 days after the night he threw me out, I walked into the closing room in a suit that finally fit the life I'd built in silence. Victor looked smaller, exhausted. When I told him I was the buyer, his face emptied. I slid divorce papers across the table. He signed because he had no choice. Then the police came. Handcuffs, charges. As they led him away, I leaned in and said quietly, "You should have asked what I was doing all those days you thought I was nothing." 7 days. That's all it took. 7 days for him to lose his job, his house, his freedom. 7 days for the woman he underestimated to take everything back. So here's my question for you. Where's the line between revenge and justice? Was this karma, or was it cold calculation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done or what you've seen in your own life. And if this story made you uncomfortable, good. Sometimes discomfort is where the truth lives.